Okay, in this video I will show you how to put some XY data into your calculator and get an equation that fits this data. So here I have some XY data. You're going to go to your calculator and you're going to just enter this data into your calculator. So in order to enter into calculator, you're going into this stat and then you're going to go into number 1 for edit. If you have some data in your L1 and L2 column, as I do, you're just going to use your arrow keys and scroll up to L1 or L2 and hit clear and enter. This will clear the whole column. Now simply put your X data in L1 and your Y data in L2. So I have 5, I'm going to hit 5, enter, 8, 9, 12, 15, 18, and 21. I'm going to now use my arrow keys to scroll over to the L2 column, and I'm going to put my Y data in. 2, 12, 22, 32, 45, 60, and 81. Now we want to take a look at what this data looks like graphically so we can take a guess at what kind of an equation would best fit this data. So in order to do that, first we're going to have to set our window. If we take a look at our X data, it goes roughly from 0 to maybe 25 if I just kind of do a high and low limit. And my Y goes from maybe 0 to 100. So I'm going to go over here to my window button, and I'm going to set my X minimum to 0. And I'm going to set my X maximum to 25. And I'll scroll down to Y minimum, Y minimum, and hit that 0 and make my Y max 100. In order to actually see my data, I need to turn my plots on. So if you go over here to your Y editor, your Y equals button, if you have an equation that's in your calculator already, you want to get rid of that. So just make sure your cursor is on the first part of the equation and hit clear and enter. Scroll up to your plots by using your arrow keys and hit enter. And you should see the plot now should be highlighted. So now let's just take a look at what our data looks like on our graphs. Let's hit graph. So here shows all the data points. And if you look at this, you might think, well, maybe it's linear, maybe it's exponential. So we'll check out both equations and see which is a better fit. So in order to get the equation for your linear regression, you want to go to this stat button right here on your calculator. You're going to now scroll over to calc. And you have a whole bunch of options here, but first one we're going to try here is this linear regression number 4. You want to make sure that your X list says L1 and your Y list says L2. If that is there, you can just scroll down and keep hitting enter until you get a screen that looks like this. And it'll give you your equation. Y equals AX plus B is the form of the equation. A value is 4.8 if I round to one decimal place, and the B value is negative 24.2. It gives you both this R squared value and an R value. Those are called your correlation coefficients, and they tell you how well your data fits the graph, or your model fits the graph. So if you're talking about a linear equation, you want to look at this R value. If you're talking about anything besides a linear equation, you want to look at the R squared value. The closer this number is to 1, the better fit the model is to your data. So with an R value of 0.99, that's pretty close to 1. So that's telling me that this model seems to be a good fit for my data. If you don't see this R squared value or this R value on your calculator, you're going to have to turn that on. I'll show you how to do that now. If your R values are there, you don't have to do this. So over here you see this catalog button. So you're going to hit second and then 0 for your catalog button. You want to scroll down until you see the word diagnostic on. You can either scroll, or if you hit alpha and then over here, you can see here it says D, hit D. It should jump you down to the D's. Try that again. Alpha, D. There we go. And now I can scroll from here so I don't have to scroll through the whole menu. And I'm looking for diagnostic on. Okay, diagnostic on. All I have to do is hit enter. And then hit enter again. You should see the word done. It doesn't look like it did anything, but then when you go back into your stat calc to look at your equation, those R values should be there. All right, so now let's also take a look at what it would be if we did a power regression on here. So if I hit stat and calc, now I'm going to scroll down until I see power regression. There we go. Whoops. I'm going to hit enter. And again, I'm going to keep hitting enter through this menu until I get the data I'm looking for. All right, so now the equation is y equals ax raised to the b, and it tells me my a value is 0.07, and the exponent that it's raised to is 2.4, and it tells me my r squared value is 0.93. So this looks like it's not as good of a model as the linear, because the linear was 0.99. But I would like to take a look at both of these lines on my graph to see which one I really like better. So we need a way to get this data into my Y editor so I can actually graph the line. How you will do that is you'll go back here to your stat button. You'll go to calc as if you were getting the equation. You'll go to 4. We'll do the linear equation first. And now you're going to scroll through this menu by hitting enter, but you're going to stop here at this store reg equation. When you get to this point, you want to store the equation. So you're going to do that by hitting this vars button right here. Then you're going to arrow over to y vars. You want to hit 1 for function. I'm going to hit 1 for y1 because I want to put it in the y1. And then I'm going to hit enter, enter. It's going to give me my data just like it did before, but now if I go to my Y editor, you'll see that the equation is actually in there now with all its decimal places. Let's go store the second equation in Y2 so that we can see both of them on our graph. So let's go back to our stat, calc. Now let's scroll down to that power regression. Hit enter. Scroll down or hit enter until you get to store reg. Now you go to vars, y vars, 1. But now I already have my linear equation in y1, so I want to store this one in y2. And I'll hit enter, enter, enter. Now, if you look at your Y editor, you'll see both of those equations are in here. I have the linear equation in Y1 and the power equation in Y2. If we hit graph, there's your linear equation. That's the one I put in Y1. And here now is my power equation. So you can see the linear equation looks like it's a better fit of my data. So I would use that equation to model this particular set of data.